Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate you just taking a few minutes out of your day, clicking on one of my videos and hanging out with me. Today, I'm excited to sit down and talk about my June favorites. Now that it is officially summer, I've been switching up my makeup a little bit. I mean, I have for like the past month or two, but now that we are heading into the hot weather, I've just, rediscovered some old summer essentials, which I'll share with you in today's video. And then I have tried a ton of new products over the past few months. So I have some favorites, some fails, so I'll include everything in today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope that your summer is off to a great start. What are you guys up to? Do you have any fun summer plans? Any vacations? Are you relaxing, working? Let me know. But I think today I will kick it off with eye products because I usually start with face products. So let's switch it up and do something different. Let me start with my first favorite of the month. This one is the ColourPop Blue Moon eyeshadow palette. This is what I used to create today's eye look, and I do have an entire video dedicated to this palette and how I got either this look or something very similar, so I'll link it in the description box below. First of all, this palette performs perfectly. The shadows are very blendable. I'm always happy with how my look turns out. The only thing is that today I tried to incorporate a glitter liner and it just kind of looks off. I don't love how the glitter looks. I feel like it just makes my eyeliner look a little bit uneven. So if you're seeing like weird specks, it's because I tried to apply glitter liner and then I went over it with liquid liner and this is what I'm left with. Every single time I use this palette to create an eyeshadow look, it turns out perfectly. If you guys love blue eyeshadow like I do, this is such a good option. It is so much fun to play with and the shadows are just easy to work with. They're incredibly blendable, and in my experience, a lot of blue shadows are very patchy and uneven and hard to work with, and I'm just so impressed by the quality of this palette. Even if you're not typically into blue shadows, but you've been wanting to incorporate them here and there, this is only $12, so it's a good affordable way to do it, and the shadows are just very, very easy to work with. So I definitely recommend picking this one up. I think it's going to be one of my favorite palettes of 2019. So I talked about this product in a video on the best new makeup releases. It is the Urban Decay Perversion Waterproof Liquid Liner. I am honestly so impressed by this product. Whenever I get a new liquid liner in the mail, I'm excited to try it because I do love wearing liquid liner. I love wearing a wing. So, I was excited to try it out, but honestly, a lot of them perform very similarly. This one really is like the most waterproof liner that I've tried. And not only that, I love the fact that it is a brush tip liner. So many of the liners that I've tried that do tend to stay in place pretty well are felt tip liners, and I just don't like felt tip liners as much as I like brush tip liners. I have a little bit of a hard time with them because they almost tug on the skin. They're not as smooth. This one glides on the eyes perfectly. It's really dark. It stays in place. It's just everything that I want in a liner. Urban Decay did send this to me in the mail as PR, but I will definitely be repurchasing it when I run out because it is my new go-to liner. I'm sure of it. I also received the new Too Faced Damn Girl Mascara in the mail as PR, and when I got it, I decided to try it out. I was actually really intrigued by this mascara. I think I talked about it in a purchase or pass video, and what really intrigued me is that Too Faced hasn't released a new mascara in, I want to say, years. They of course have their Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. That mascara just hasn't worked for me. I have tried it so many times on numerous occasions, and I just don't really enjoy the brush combined with the formula. It flakes, it smudges, it doesn't do anything for my lashes personally. So Too Faced has never really had a mascara that I've loved because I don't even know what they created before, but I don't know that I've ever tried any of their other ones. Now, when I saw this brush, I had a feeling that it was going to be slightly too big. I just prefer something a little bit smaller. I don't know about you guys, but I make such a mess when I apply my mascara every single time. I never get a nice, smooth, clean application. It gets all over my lid, all over my crease. So this brush is very large, and I will say that I tend to get even more of a messy application than I do with like my go-to mascaras because it is so large. That being said, I can deal with that because I really like the formula of this mascara. It goes on very nicely. It's a really wet mascara. It's almost more of like this like moussey wet gel texture, which doesn't really sound appealing, but for a mascara, I feel like it works well. The actual formula reminds me a lot of the new Flower Beauty Warrior Princess, which I've been talking about a lot, but this one is a lot more dramatic than that one. It doesn't necessarily make my lashes look super long, but they're just so voluminous and thick. So I do enjoy this on days when I want a pretty dramatic look. So it definitely has pros and cons. It's not going to be for everybody. So if the pros outweigh the cons and you think you might like it, then I definitely recommend picking it up. But if the cons outweigh the pros, you know, if you don't like super large brushes, you don't like mascaras that tend to clump a little bit, then I would probably skip over this one. But I think it's a fun option for those dramatic look days. So I have to say that one of my favorites was definitely the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. Now I did film a full review on this palette, including pros and cons, and there were definitely some cons, but I also included comparisons, swatches, a tutorial. So if you want to hear all of my thoughts on this palette, I will link it in the description box below. I definitely think there are pros and cons to this product as well, as there are with most products, but this one's a little bit more expensive. It's a $65 palette. For $65, I am not disappointed in this product, but I said in my review video that I'm just not sure that Natasha Denona's formula is worth like the super high price tag, and I don't think I personally would spend anywhere between like $100 and $200 on one of her full-size palettes, and I don't think people were completely happy with that. I know a lot of you guys appreciate my honesty, and you know, my videos, they're just my personal opinions. If this shadow or if this formula is like your ultimate favorite formula, then go for it. I'm definitely not telling you guys that you shouldn't spend your money on it, but I have to be honest and just share my personal opinions. But as a whole, I do love this palette. I love using it, and every single time I do an eyeshadow look with this palette, for the most part, I love how it turns out. I think that it is such a pretty palette. The colors are beautiful and warm. I love that there are berry tones and just a lot of fun warm tone shadows in general. So I am happy with this palette overall. If you guys want to hear my full review, again, I'll link that video below, but this was definitely one of my favorite products. I wore it so much during the month of June. A product that unfortunately did not work out for me is the Fenty Beauty Sun Stalk'r bronzer in the shade Inda Sun. I'm annoyingly picky about bronzers, and it's not something that I like pride myself on. It's something that actually annoys me because I do have quite a few bronzers in my collection, and I'm just never happy with how a bronzer looks on me, other than like 2 or 3 that I really love. So, you know, I think I'm kind of over trying new bronzers for a little while, and I'm just going to stick with what I know and what I love. But I decided to try it out, and I don't like how it looks on my skin. It's almost overly matte, so I don't find that it blends out that well. It tends to skip across my skin, and it just doesn't look very flattering overall. It just feels like a super dry formula, and if you like super matte products, then you might enjoy that. I just don't feel like I need such a dry powder for my bronzer because that's not really where my skin tends to be oily anyways, and it's just almost overly matte for me personally. So I really have been loving the E.L.F. Primer Infused Bronzer. I talked about that in my May favorites, and that's $6. So for me, I'd rather just stick with that one, and unfortunately this one just didn't work out for me. So I've had the Milani blush in the shade Luminoso in my makeup collection for a while. I put it in my everyday makeup drawer, and then I think it kind of fell in the back of the drawer because I just pulled it out a few weeks ago, and I have just been loving this blush all over again. I loved this so much years ago, and it's just a really beautiful color, but a really nice formula. It is very smooth and blendable, and it just looks great on the skin. It has a very, very subtle sheen, so it looks very natural on the skin, but it's very blendable. It gives you a good amount of color. You can build it up if you want something more intense, and I just love the formula. I think these are like $8. I do have another rediscovered favorite. This one is from E.L.F. It is their Oil Control Primer Mist. I fell in love with this last summer, and I broke it back out at the beginning of June, and I've been wearing it almost every single day. My skin is oily, but I feel like it's definitely more oily during the spring and summertime, and I forgot how much I love this product. It is incredibly lightweight, and I just spritz it into my hand and then press it into my skin, and it keeps my skin from getting oily throughout the day. I mean, my skin will definitely still get a little bit oily, but I am so, like every single time I use this, and I've used it dozens of times at this point, I am so impressed by how well it works because it just has such a wet feeling texture, like it feels like a water, so you don't expect it to really help keep your skin matte throughout the day, but it truly does work. I actually just repurchased it. So I actually tried out another product from Catrice. I've had this one in my collection for a while, but I was working my way through 2 different yellow toned powders. I was using the Essence banana powder and then also the Too Faced banana powder, but I used both of those up. So I thought instead of running out and purchasing like a brand new powder or repurchasing one of those, I would use something I had first. Now, when I first saw this, I was pretty intimidated because it looks pretty dark in the actual container, but when you apply it to the skin, it is a lot more subtle. subtle. So I would say that it has more of a subtle brightening effect because it is a really lightweight, silky, soft powder. I wouldn't recommend packing it on with like a beauty sponge because even when I do that, like I have pretty oily skin, but it does tend to make my skin look a little bit dehydrated. So I don't recommend doing that. I recommend using like a fluffy brush and just kind of dusting it on your under eyes, between your brows, like to carve out your contour. Just kind of keep that in mind, but I'm just impressed by the quality. It almost feels like that Hourglass Loose Mineral Veil Powder. It's a little bit more matte, but they have a very similar texture, and this one is like $8. My camera died, which is always a sign that I am talking way too much, so let me just finish up. I have 3 more products to talk about, 2 more favorites, and then 1 fail. So the other powder that I've been loving is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Mattifying Loose Setting Powder. I've had this in my makeup collection for a while, but now that we are heading into like the hot summer days, which if you guys live in a hot climate, you might already have been there for a while, but I love this powder because it really does lock everything into place so well. It keeps my skin so matte all day long, and I think the first time I tried this powder, it wasn't even like the summer season, and I still loved it, but I think that now that it's hot outside, my skin is a little bit more oily, I can appreciate it more than ever because it does work so well to keep my skin pretty matte throughout the day. So if you're looking for a good, loose, mattifying powder that's just great for setting your face all over, this one is a nice option. I know they actually released a darker version as well, so if the light one was a little bit too light for you, then definitely check out the darker option. So they did send me some new products because they expanded their Tutti Frutti collection, and there were products in the collection that I really enjoyed. I love the Tutti Frutti Fruit Cocktail Blush Duos, so they did come out with some new shades that are really beautiful, but this palette, it didn't do it for me. The packaging of this palette is of course so cute. It's like an ice cream themed palette. It is scented. It kind of has like a white chocolate scent, or if you like walk into an ice cream shop in the summertime, that's what this smells like. Like they captured it perfectly. And the idea behind the palette is cute. It's supposed to kind of be like Neapolitan themed. Anyways, the formula of this product just really isn't that good. It is infused with a ton of glitter, and I don't typically mind a little bit of glitter mixed into my blush or my highlighters. It's not something I prefer, but I can deal with it if the actual formula is worth it. This formula is not worth it. It's just a very underwhelming formula. The actual highlighters just feel a little bit chunky. So when I take my finger and I apply it, it's pretty, but when I use a fluffy brush and I like actually apply it to the skin, it just doesn't have a lot of color payoff. I almost feel like the glitter translates on the skin more than the actual color of the highlighter. So, I mean, if you like a really glittery topper, maybe you'll enjoy this, but I can't imagine there are a lot of people out there that I would recommend this to, especially for the price tag. It is a higher end highlight formula, and you know, I say go buy the Flower Beauty highlight palette. That one is a fraction of the cost. You get similar shades, but it performs so much better. They do have a darker version as well that kind of looks like this. Here's the new Flower Beauty palette for comparison. These 2 shades are actually pretty similar to these 2. This formula does not have glitter in it, and it's pretty intense on the cheeks. So I say save your money, pick up the Flower Beauty highlighter if these shades appeal to you, and I don't recommend this Too Faced palette. The last product that I want to mention is the Bite Beauty Agave Plus Lip Balm. This is such a good product. I fell in love with this. And before this, my go-to lip balm was the Drunk Elephant Lippy Balm, which was expensive. That one is $18. This one is $14, but I think this one is going to last such a long time because you need the smallest amount. It really does provide lasting hydration. If I apply this at like 8 in the morning, my lips are moisturized until like 2 in the afternoon. So I might have to reapply it after lunch, but after that, I'm good to go for the rest of the day. I am so impressed by the formula. It feels really luxurious on the lips. It's a little bit thicker. It almost feels like a lip mask. So I just feel like my lips really are moisturized, and it has a glossy finish, so it looks really beautiful, and I'm so impressed by it. It kind of has like a maple syrup scent, which I think is kind of nice. I do like it, but it is pretty strong. I can usually smell it on my lips, so just keep that in mind. Now, the only thing is, I was actually on the Sephora website because the reviews on this product are terrible, and I was so confused because I love it so much, and I was reading through the reviews, and apparently they reformulated it. So if you had the original version, the new version is no longer the same. The original version had lanolin in it, which is made from like sheep's wool, and they wanted to make it vegan, so they did include a different alternative product. So a lot of people are saying it's just not the original. I never tried the original, so I have nothing to compare it to, but I do love the new formula. So if you are like me and you've never tried the original, maybe give the new one a shot. I think you will really like it. I totally get the pain of a brand reformulating a product or just discontinuing it. So I could see why people would be disappointed, but I'm impressed by the formula. I've been wearing it every single day. So those are my June favorites and fails. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that July is amazing for you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful summer, but I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.